Okay, that's sort of a revised ordering. That's not really a revised agenda. All right, so that's how we're going to do it today. Well, welcome, Dave. You are first up, and you are going to talk to us about stormwater charges and additional budget to bolster rebates business to increase mitigation projects. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and this is my first time in front of the new council, so great to see all the incumbent councillors back, as well as you, Madam Mayor, and a special welcome and congratulations once again to Ward 1 Councillor Stephen Dasco. We look forward to getting together with you, and Ward 7 Councillor Deepika Demerla, who we've had the opportunity to work with on many issues in previous dates. Madam Mayor and members of the Budget Committee, on behalf of the Mississauga Board of Trade, I want to thank you for this opportunity to discuss stormwater and the City of Mississauga and the program, which is and the proposed rate increases for 2019. First, I would like to thank Commissioner Gary Kent and Finance Director Jeff Jackson for presenting the draft 2019 budget to our Policy and Government Affairs Committee last Friday and giving us the opportunity to provide input for your final approval. The City of Mississauga stormwater program and related fees continue to be a financial burden for business. Because of the nature of the calculation of the levy, large buildings with large parking lots are disproportionately affected by this tax. However, we recognize that Council has developed a credit program that can rebate up to 50% of the charge to a property owner if they implement stormwater mitigation retrofits at the property. Over the past few years, we have seen some, but very few, applications for this credit, and that remains a concern for us. Quite frankly, if the payback time frame is too long, the property owner will not invest the money on stormwater mitigation. Therefore, the problem continues to exist, and the city is not attaining its goal for stormwater flow control and mitigation. Therefore, the problem continues to exist. The potential, the outcome of this is that we still have potential flooding and related problems. Businesses will not invest in mitigation controls and projects when the ROI is 20 to 30 years. They will simply pay the charge until the cost of operating a business in Mississauga outweighs the benefits, and then they leave. This benefits no one and flies in the face of prudent long-term planning. We believe the city is truly committed to stormwater control and mitigation rather than just building more and bigger infrastructure. In order to accomplish this, we must work together to implement an incentive program which reduces the ROI time for business to a period of 5 to 7 years. It can and it has been accomplished in other jurisdictions. The current program continues to treat the symptoms, but not the disease. The current program provides a mechanism to create reserve funds in order to build bigger infrastructure. As municipalities continue to expand to the north of Mississauga and stormwater refuses to run backwards up to the forks of the credit, more and more stormwater will make its way through our systems and waterways. We do not control what municipalities to the north of us do. We do control the programs we offer to Mississauga business in order to mitigate stormwater within our city and solve the issue of flooding. The credit program at the present time provides a credit of up to 50% of the levy. We suggest you consider raising this amount up to 100% to ensure the payback period is shortened and property retrofit uptake increases. As we understand it, almost 30%, or $1 million a year, is not being claimed under the budgeted amounts for the credit program. While this may seem like a good idea and a good thing because money has been saved, It's in fact a problem because it proves the incentive is not driving the intended behavior. Recently, we had the opportunity to discuss the stormwater program, which has been implemented in the city of Philadelphia. We discussed it with the administrator of that program. They have had a program longer than Mississauga and have adjusted theirs to increase participation of private, commercial, industrial, and institutional properties. Philadelphia has a credit system of 80% and a grant program of up to $250,000 to offset property retrofit costs. The Philadelphia administrator, who has been part of the program since inception, noted that when they offered up these two incentives and reduced the ROI period to the magic number of 5 to 7 years, they experienced a significant increase in participation. When we met with the city staff in December, we suggested they talk to Philadelphia to get more information on their program, their high success rate with business, and consider implementing similar ideas that work within our municipal regulatory framework. The Mississauga Board of Trade would like to continue to work with council and staff to encourage more privately owned commercial properties to participate in the stormwater retrofit programs for 2019. However, changes are necessary to make this happen. Finally, as a gesture of good faith, and while we review the current program, the Mississauga Board of Trade calls on the City of Mississauga to freeze the rate of increase in 2019, to send an important message about the city's interest in working with business and drive forward a mutually beneficial solution. Thank you for your time this morning. Happy New Year, and I would be pleased to take any questions.
Thank you. I do have some comments and questions from councillors, and our stormwater deputy presentation will be first up, and I'm going to ask them to address your questions and concerns in your presentation when you make it. All right, Councillor Rass, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you for coming today, David. And I couldn't agree with you more in terms of the little uptake from commercial customers. One of the things that we have found, I'm working with CBC and the South Down industrial area customers to look at the Drainage Act, because when water falls on an individual property, it doesn't stay on that individual property. There's a lot of overflow to different properties, so we're trying to get all of the commercial customers together, or commercial property owners together, and look at where the waters flow, how different property owners can benefit. So, for example, we have a lot of truck companies in that South Down industrial area, and the water captured from one of the larger one of the areas that has a large roof, they capture that area. The water can then be transferred to the truck terminal to wash the trucks. So there's a lot of opportunities there. But when we first started talking to them, they weren't aware of the city's rebate program. So I think communications is an issue, and we'll be taking that up with staff later on. But we need to do more and make sure that they take advantage of those programs. So thank you for coming today, and we'll hear more in a few minutes.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Madam Mayor, the councillor brings up an extremely important point, and one that we did discuss with staff about communication, that these programs are available. Although city staff is doing an admirable job at communicating, we have found companies that are planning retrofits that were not aware of any retrofit rebates. 2 in Point, White Oak Lincoln Mercury on Mavis Road was planning an expansion. One of our members, we spoke with them and brought that to their attention. The other one is very well known to you, Madam Mayor. Mike McCarthy at MHI, his massive expansion, was not aware of any retrofits that were available to him. So I'm not saying that this is the fault of city staff. I'm saying that it could be the engineers and the managers that are in charge of these projects. If they're from outside of the city, they're not aware of these programs that we have available. So I'm not sure exactly what the solution is, but certainly the Mississauga Board of Trade, whenever we're speaking to our members and we get a whiff that they're planning on an expansion, or any kind of change to their property, we are encouraging to seek out the information from city staff so that they can do it at that time, which we know is the most economical.
Just to turn my mic off. Thank you, David. Councillor Starr, I'd like to make some comments and questions as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I just appreciate you coming forward, David, and representing all the businesses. I think it's very important. I also feel that there should be a relook, and especially from the commercial side. I've had comments coming back from people, and I think the communications part of it is what's needed to follow up on. Another idea, probably from your, and you've probably done it and talked about it already, is to have maybe a separate seminar or workshop or whatever at the board trade, and maybe MBOT could sponsor something like that, and I'm sure our staff would get involved. But that's everybody I've talked to that complained about it at the commercial level did not know that there was a program available. And part of that is that most people are more interested in doing their own jobs, and when they see taxes or levies or charges, they think it's automatic and just, and have their accounts payable pay it. And I just think that we have to take a second look at it, because once we keep adding charges and costs to any business, yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, we saw that when the hydro rates went through the roof. We saw people moving specifically because of that. And but I think you bring up some good points, and we have some further discussion coming up this morning, and look forward to your comments.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you, Councillor. It's an excellent point. Certainly, it is always Council's intention. I know the Mayor has been extremely vocal about reducing any barriers to entry for businesses to come to Mississauga and staying in Mississauga. To your point of roundtables and discussions through the Board of Trade, we have done those. We did a series of them a couple of years ago. It's probably time for another one. Victoria Krapkowski, who is not with the city any longer, did an excellent job at presenting the stormwater program. That was at the very start of the program. Now that it's matured and as we massage it, it's certainly time for more of these discussions, and we will certainly follow up with that with the city staff, and certainly have more of those. So
David,
for businesses.
I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end to kind of sum up, because I have two more councillors. So if we go back and forth like this, we're going to be here all day. So if you don't mind. Sorry, Councillor Parrish, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. When you name Mike McCarthy, it perked up my ears. He's a guy that I'm back and forth with all the time. He does a lot of projects with me in Malton, and I make sure my newsletters go out to everybody, businesses, and I'm thinking to myself, Mike McCarthy doesn't have time to read a silly newsletter from the local councillor. I know the mayor works closely with him on her apprenticeship programs. They take quite a few kids there. And so I'm thinking the one time he would pay very close attention, I'm sure, is when he gets his tax bill. Excuse me. Maybe we should insert of a little flyer into the tax bill for the business owners, especially the large business owners, to take note of at our end, and maybe do a workshop. But I think putting it, most of these guys, when you open up the tax bill, they pay close attention. So that might be the place to put it. And then maybe do as you suggest and run a workshop for them. But in Ward 5, which has most of the large businesses and industries in the city, I think when we introduced it, I think we had fewer than 4 or 5 inquiries, i.e. complaints. And we worked through with them all individually, but this might be a good reminder for everybody that there is a way to get some of this money back in a rebate. And I would suggest we consider it, ask the city manager to maybe do an insert in the tax bill.
Good suggestion, good advice, Councillor Parrish. Councillor Dasko.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and a great presentation. And to your point, I'd like to mention, I just heard from one of the businesses in Ward 1, Peel Chrysler, who said that they've got a decent amount of property and a real going concern, a new lot, a used lot, et cetera, and they're just getting hammered on fees and going through the process of some hindrances. So to your point, I do think having something that would go out in the mail as well as a workshop would go a long way in terms of being able to work with our local businesses.
Thank you, David. You know, this is very enlightening, actually. You and I had spoken about it, and I didn't realize how far the ROI went and, you know, how cost prohibitive it was to actually implement some of the measures that are necessary to even be eligible for any bit of a grant back. So this is all very good information, and we'll absorb it, and I'm sure we'll question Helen when she comes forward, and we'll move it forward. You know, we didn't mean to be obstructive to business or punitive to business in any way, but certainly you understand that the stormwater charge is a necessary levy for us to protect the city and move us forward and protect and mitigate against the effects of climate change. So it is necessary, but at the same time, we didn't intend it to be quite so punitive as you described. So good information. I thank you for coming forward today.